just going to talk for a quick sec about how your camera's meter works, like how it measures the light in the world. So most cameras have got three basic options. You can spot meter, center meter, or matrix or evaluative. There's a different name for it for different camera manufacturers. But this is what most people use most of the time, and that is because it's the default value. It's the easiest for most situations, primarily in landscape photography. This is what I kind of leave it on all the time. And all this means is that it is measuring the light in all parts of your scene. This one is measuring the light primarily in the middle, and your spot meter is measuring the light primarily on one tiny little spot. And you can move that spot around your frame while you're in the field to make sure that it's only reading the light off of one part. So if you've got an important subject and not such an important surrounding or background that you really want your subject properly metered, then spot metering would be a good option for you. So let's look at this kind of in real life here. So I've got this whole scene right here. This is completely unprocessed. I didn't do anything to it yet. But I've got a bright white bird. That is my subject. He is surrounded by lots and lots of dark area. So if I leave my meter on evaluative or matrix, where it's measuring the whole scene, it's measuring the light here and here and here and here and all back and forth all the way across this image. That's a lot of very dark information. Now what the camera meter is assuming, it's assuming that your world is neutral, which is basically this color right here. So if it sees something that's darker, it's going to try and brighten it. Or it's going to tell you that it should be brighter. If it sees something brighter, it's going to tell you that it should be darker because it wants to just match this. It's actually called neutral gray. So if I had properly exposed this image in the field to where my histogram was kind of like right here in the middle, or even a little bit above, look at what happens to my highlights. My highlights get destroyed. Let me get rid of that red so you can actually see this bird. And you can look at this and there's no more detail in his feathers. It is completely gone. And so what I did while I was out there is, even though the meter said, yeah, this is where this image should be, I said, no, I want to preserve the highlights in that bird. So I actually underexposed my image quite a bit, maybe even a little bit too much. So I could brighten it just a little bit, but I just wanted to make sure that I preserved all of the highlights in the bird and just let that background go dark. Now, given the choice and the time to go into my camera and change it to spot metering and meter off the wing of the bird, I would have been able to deal with this while letting the camera basically ignore the entire background. It wouldn't even consider the background. It would just spot meter off this bird, and I would say this is the proper exposure that I need for metering off of this bird. So I just wanted to give you kind of a basic understanding of how your camera is measuring the light in the world, and to take into consideration when you have a very bright object that's kind of small in your frame, that you may end up with a very overexposed photo and you're going to blow the highlights out in that white object because your meter is evaluating the entire scene. It's not just going, oh, hey, that's a bird and I only want to concentrate on the bird. No, it doesn't know that there's a bird there. It just knows that there's a lot of darkness in this image. So I hope that helps explain it a little bit. It takes some practice. Practice in the backyard, practice on your kitchen table. You don't have to go far. So anyway, hope you found that helpful, and I'll see you again next time.